used to drive nights for a living. Truck deliveries, coast to coast, empty roads, gas station coffee, and that humming loneliness that comes when the world's asleep. I thought I'd seen everything the American highway could show me. Until last October. That's when I found Route 191A. It doesn't show up on any GPS, no maps, no state records. But sometimes, only on certain nights, you'll see the sign on the interstate shoulder. Rusty metal, peeling paint, just 3 digits, 191A. If you blink, you'll miss it. But if you turn, you'll never forget what's waiting down that road. That night, I was somewhere between Kansas and Oklahoma. Heavy fog rolled in, thick enough to choke the headlights. I was half an hour past my last rest stop when I saw it. A green road marker. Flickering under the high beams, 191A, service route. It looked new, but the metal was eaten with rust. I almost drove past it, but my GPS froze. The screen went black, then flashed white, and when it came back on, the map was blank. Just gray, no roads, no signal. Only one blinking dot, mine. I should have turned back. Instead, curiosity won. I eased into 191A. The pavement was perfect, too perfect. Smooth black asphalt, no cracks, no wear. No streetlights. No mile markers. Just my truck's beams cutting through endless fog. The radio began to hiss. I thought maybe I'd lost the signal, but then a voice came through. Faint, static-laced. A woman whispering. I leaned closer. You shouldn't be here! I froze. The voice wasn't part of the radio station. It was inside the frequency, like she was talking through the static itself. I tried changing channels, but every station was the same. Static and whispers. Then I noticed something else. The odometer stopped moving. I'd been driving 20 minutes, but the mileage hadn't changed. And outside, the fog wasn't thinning. That's when I saw the first figure. A man on the side of the road facing away, thumb out like a hitchhiker. But when I slowed down, he didn't move. His clothes looked wrong, old-fashioned like the 1950s, and when my headlights touched him, his shadow bent the wrong way. I hit the gas. My truck roared forward, but the man's face flashed in my mirrors for a split second. Eyes black as asphalt, my mouth opened in a scream I couldn't hear, then silence. The fog broke. I was back on the main highway. No sign of 191A, GPS normal again. But the strangest part? When I stopped at a diner an hour later, the waitress stared at my plates. She said, "You're a long way from home. Didn't think they issued those tags anymore." I looked outside. My truck's license plate read 191A, and that's when I realized I never really left that road. After that night, I told myself it was exhaustion. Too many hours behind the wheel, too much caffeine, not enough sleep. That's what I told myself. Until I tried to find that highway again. Because it shouldn't exist. But I did find it. 3 days later, I stopped at a truck stop outside Tulsa. Small, old-fashioned place, the kind of diner where the coffee tastes like engine oil, but the people smile anyway. When I asked the clerk if he'd ever heard of Route 191A, his smile vanished. He didn't say a word. Just stared for a long second, then muttered, "You don't want to be asking about that road, friend." Then he walked away. That's when I realized people knew something. They just didn't talk about it. An old trucker sitting nearby waved me over. Big guy, gray beard, heavy hands. His eyes never quite met mine. He said, "You saw the sign, didn't you?" "Green one, mile marker 191A, I nodded. He sighed, like he'd been holding his breath for years. "You ain't the first." He told me that every few years, drivers report a road that isn't supposed to be there. A stretch of highway that appears after midnight, usually in fog or rain. Some say it's government land. Others whisper it's where a military convoy disappeared in the 70s. And some say it's older than that. There's a story about a highway worker named Earl Hawkins from 1956. He was part of a crew building Route 191 right between the state lines. One morning, Earl didn't show up. When they found his truck, the engine was running. headlights pointed toward an open patch of dirt. And the odometer read 191 miles exactly. But the strange part? The road he was supposed to be paving that day wasn't there anymore. Just grass. And they say if you drive far enough down 191A, you'll see a man in a safety vest waving at you to slow down. Only when you stop, he's gone. I laughed at first. Thought it was just another truck stop ghost story. But that night when I checked my GPS history, there it was again. Coordinates. A single gray line with no name. Latitude 36,004. Longitude 97.115. Right where I'd seen the sign. I had to know the truth, so I drove out there. Same route. Same time, just past midnight. Fog thick as milk. The main interstate was silent. Not another set of headlights for miles, and then I saw it again. The sign. Only this time it was cleaner. Fresh paint. Like someone had replaced it. I slowed down, and the radio flickered back to life. Static. Then a man's voice. Maintenance crew ahead. Proceed to the missing mile. The phrase made no sense, but I drove on anyway. My lights caught something in the fog. Rows of traffic cones, brand new. And behind them, a wall of asphalt half paved stretching into the darkness. Only one problem. There were no tire tracks, no signs of life. Then I noticed something else. Embedded in the asphalt, half sunken under tar, was a handprint. A human handprint. Still fresh. I touched it. It was warm. Suddenly, my truck's radio blared to life again. A woman screaming, "Don't stop! Don't stop the engine!" I floored it. The fog swallowed everything. The cones, the sign, the road, gone. And when I looked back in the mirror, the asphalt was moving, like it was breathing. I don't know what Route 191A really is, but sometimes late at night I hear the same voice through my radio, whispering coordinates I never asked for. This chapter deepens the mystery. The narrator begins investigating Earl Hawkins and discovers others who vanished on Route 191A. Pacing is designed for performance. Tension builds slowly, ending with a chilling supernatural reveal. I didn't sleep for 3 nights after that second drive. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard it, that voice in the static. A man saying, "Proceed to the missing mile." At first, I thought maybe it was a broadcast bleed, radio interference from another frequency. But when I checked my dash camera footage, there was no sound. Just static, and one frame, half a second long, showing a shadowed figure standing behind my truck. I wasn't alone out there, so I started digging. I called the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. They told me there's never been a Route 191A. The woman on the line sounded confused, said maybe I'd misread the sign. But when I gave her the coordinates and she went silent, then she said quietly, "Sir, that area is restricted. There's no public highway there," and hung up. That's when I knew this wasn't just a ghost story. I drove to the county records office the next morning. Old files, yellowed maps, the kind of place that smells like dust and lost time. After 2 hours, I found something. A 1956 road plan labeled U.S. Highway 191 Alternate, Proposed Service Route, stamped canceled in red ink. Underneath, a handwritten note, "Project terminated, site sealed." Next to it was a list of names, engineers, construction workers. At the bottom, Earl Hawkins, crew chief. Every name had a check mark beside it. Except his. He was the only one unaccounted for. I wasn't sure what to believe anymore. But that night, as I sat in my truck outside a motel, scrolling through old news archives, I found a clipping that froze my blood. Local man missing. Last seen near unmarked construction road. The date? October 14th, 1956. Exactly 70 years before the night I found 191A. I drove on that road on October 14th. Then, my phone screen flickered. The article vanished. And a map app opened by itself. Pin dropped in the same coordinates as before. I shut off my phone. but the truck's radio turned on by itself. "Proceed to the missing mile." This time the voice wasn't alone. A woman whispered something beneath it, barely audible. I cranked the volume. He's still out there. Earl. I grabbed my keys and drove. Against every ounce of reason, I followed the coordinates one more time. Same fog. Same empty stretch of interstate. And there it was, the sign for 191A. But this time, something new hung beneath it. A metal road marker, rusted and bullet-pocked. Reading, "In memory of Earl Hawkins, 1956. Someone knew. I took out my camera and snapped a picture, but the screen showed something different. The road marker was gone, replaced by a mirror image of me standing next to the sign, staring straight ahead, and my reflection was smiling. I turned to run back to my truck, but I froze. Through the fog ahead of me, I saw orange light flickering, like hazard lights. Another vehicle, a pickup, half sunk into the asphalt, front end melted into the road like tar. I approached slowly. The windshield was cracked, and inside was a man's body slumped over the wheel. A safety vest. Name tag half visible under the grime. E. Hawkins. He never left. The radio inside his truck crackled. The same voice spoke again, only this time it sounded like mine. Proceed to the missing mile. That's when I realized the road wasn't calling to me. It was remembering me. We'll focus on the government conspiracy thread. The narrator starts uncovering official records, people trying to silence him, and how the mysterious Route 191A ties into an old federal experiment that went wrong. I thought finding Earl Hawkins' body would be the end of it. Turn it in, let the cops explain it. But when I called the sheriff's department, the dispatcher said there was no record of that name in any missing person file. That's when I realized I was on my own. The next morning, I drove to Oklahoma City to meet an old contact of mine, a journalist named Maggie Reyes. She'd covered black site investigations and FOIA requests for years. When I told her about 191A, she didn't laugh. She just said, "You're not the first trucker who's come to me about that corridor." Maggie pulled a file from her bag. Clippings, photocopies, redacted memos. Across the top of one page was a faded government header, Department of Transportation, Energy, Project Horizon. The memo described an experiment to create temporal bypass lanes, a classified logistics project from the 1950s, meant to shorten military convoys by bending space-time over short distances. A prototype test site had been built between Kansas and Oklahoma. Coordinates matched 191A exactly. The project was shut down after a containment breach. The rest of the paragraph was blacked out. Maggie said 3 civilian engineers went missing during the test. All declared dead in a highway explosion, but there were no explosion records. So what? The road folded them somewhere? She didn't answer. She slid another page across the table, a satellite photo taken in 1998. In the middle of open farmland, a perfect mile-long strip of asphalt shimmered like glass. Next photo, nothing. Vanished. The caption read, "Subject remanifested 10:14 at 01:03 hours, October 14th, the same date. Every 70 years. Before I could ask more, Maggie's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID, frowned, and muted it. Then she whispered, "You didn't tell anyone you were coming here, right?" I hadn't. But through the diner window, a black sedan had just parked across the street. 2 men in suits stepped out. No plates on the car. Maggie gathered the papers fast, shoved them into my hands. "If they ask, you never saw me, and whatever you do, don't drive at night." I drove off and didn't stop until I hit a cheap motel 2 counties away. I spread the documents across the bed. Each page hummed with something under the paper. Static from the radio on the nightstand, even though it was unplugged. When I held one memo near my phone, the speaker hissed and the same voice came through. "Proceed to the missing mile." I dropped everything. The motel lights flickered. Outside, an engine idled, steady, low. I pulled the curtain back. The same black sedan sat under the buzzing streetlight. No driver, I grabbed Maggie's folder and ran to my truck. The moment I turned the key, the dashboard screen blinked on. Lines of text scrolled automatically like a system booting. Project Horizon. Status. Reactivated. My truck wasn't supposed to connect to anything. No Wi-Fi, no network. The radio clicked. A new voice, calm, male, official, driver ID confirmed. Route 191A authorization granted. Maintain course. I slammed the shifter into reverse, tires screeching, heart hammering. As I sped away, the motel sign behind me exploded in sparks. Letters burning until only 3 remained. 191. Maggie vanished the next day. Her number disconnected, her office emptied. Every trace of Project Horizon, gone from public record. And yet every time I start my truck, the GPS boots to the same gray screen. No roads, no map, just one blinking dot. Me, perfect. This will be... Chapter 5. The Mile That Shouldn't Exist. It's the climax. The narrator follows the mysterious coordinates into the reappearing Route 191A, where the Project Horizon experiment is still active. Blurring science, time, and the supernatural. I'll write it with full YouTube narration cues, chapter pacing, and cinematic horror tension for your voiceover. I didn't plan to go back, but when every road sign you see points toward a place that doesn't exist, you start wondering whether it's avoiding you or calling you. For 3 nights straight, my GPS kept rerouting to one coordinate, 35.7781 at degree N, 97.3424 degree IW. Same point that Project Horizon marked 70 years ago. Same place Maggie's files mentioned, the missing mile. So I packed the folder, a flashlight, a flask of coffee, and a sense I wouldn't be coming back. Midnight. Fog crawling low across the plains like spilled smoke. No cars, no stars. Just the hum of my diesel and the map that shouldn't be on my screen. The GPS voice, flat, synthetic, kept repeating, "Proceed to Route 191A. Speed maintained." Do not stop. I didn't touch the throttle, but the truck started speeding up on its own. Needle climbing, 40, 50, 70, wind screaming through cracked mirrors. Then, out of nowhere, headlights appeared in my rear view, bright white, too close. I blinked and they were gone. Only the smell of burnt rubber remained. I thought maybe I'd fallen asleep, but the next thing I saw made that impossible. The highway lines faded beneath my tires. The blacktop cracked apart, bleeding light, like someone had drawn power cables through the ground. My radio snapped on by itself. Static turned into faint voices. Military chatter, 1950s frequency tone. Test Convoy 17 entering the corridor. Clock synchronized. Mark 0. Then another voice, female, trembling. "They're not coming back. Shut it down. Shut it. Cut off." I looked up and realized I wasn't in Oklahoma anymore. The signs were different, aged, rusted, old-style fonts from another era. My dashboard clock froze at 0:03 a.m. Every light outside my truck turned blue-white. The lost highway had found me. A chain-link fence appeared on the horizon. Torn open, wires dangling like ribs. A metal sign swung in the wind. U.S. Department of Energy Project Horizon Test Site 03I stopped the truck. The GPS whispered, "Arrival confirmed." Behind the gate stood a concrete bunker half buried in the earth. Floodlights flickered, ancient but still powered. And carved into the bunker wall, almost invisible, was a single word: return. I should have turned back. But you don't come this far to stop at the door. The air was heavy, metallic, like after lightning. Every step echoed for miles. Inside, the hallways were lined with control panels and thick glass tubes. Some were shattered. Inside, others floated what looked like vehicles. Old trucks melted halfway through the metal, as if fused with the walls themselves. They weren't prototypes. They were people's trucks. I found one panel still working. Dusty screen, green letters flickering. Horizon gate active. Cycle 191A, reopened Oct 14, the same date again. Every 70 years they tried to open a shortcut through time. and every time, it demanded something in return. A sound echoed down the corridor, boots on concrete. I turned off my light. Shadows moved across the walls. Men in old military uniforms, faces pale, hollow-eyed, moving in slow, jerky motions. Like a film stuck on repeat. They didn't see me. They just kept walking, fading through solid doors that shouldn't open. I reached the central chamber, a round room filled with machinery and a giant sphere pulsing with cold light. One last terminal blinked awake as I stepped near. Project Horizon Log 13. Operator, Hawkins, E. Earl Hawkins. The trucker whose ID I'd found back on the road. His voice began to play over the speakers. "We made it through the mile, sir." But something else came with us. It's not letting us leave. "If anyone hears this, don't follow the coordinates." Static swallowed the rest. Then the same calm voice from my truck spoke, echoing around the room. "Driver ID confirmed. Final sequence authorized. Horizon gate opening." The floor split apart. Light poured up from below, twisting like liquid glass. I felt my boots sliding toward it, gravity reversing. The whole world is folding in. I grabbed the doorframe, tried to pull back. But the light wasn't just pulling me. It was showing me everything. Scenes flashed in my head, highways from other decades, cars from the 1920s, 2050s, all overlapping, ghost roads stacked like pages of a book, each one a version of Route 191A, and in every version, I saw my truck, waiting, engine running. The voice whispered one last line. "Welcome back, Operator Hawkins." Then, black. When I woke up, I was parked on a quiet, empty road. Fog rolling over endless asphalt. My GPS blinking the same 3 letters on loop. 191A. I checked the mirror. Behind me, headlights appeared. 1 pair, then 2, then a whole convoy stretching into the fog. Old trucks, same models from Hawkins' time. Their drivers watched me through cracked windshields, faces half burned, half frozen in time. They didn't vanish. They've been waiting for someone to take their route, and now, it's my turn to drive. I don't know how long I've been driving. Days, maybe weeks. Out here, the sun never rises, just fog, asphalt, and that humming on the radio. Sometimes I pull over, sleep an hour or 2, but when I wake up, the gas tank's still full. The GPS still says the same thing. Route 191A, proceed to destination. The problem is, there is no destination. I started hearing words in the static. Not voices, words. Whole sentences made from white noise, spelling out messages through the rhythm of the static itself. It knows my name now. Last night, the radio said, "Hawkins, you're late." That's not my name. It's the trucker's name. The one who vanished decades ago. I thought maybe I'd fallen asleep at the wheel again. But then the truck's dash lit up with a string of coordinates. The same ones from Maggie's files. And beside them, a new message appeared. "Transmission required." There was an old camcorder on the passenger seat. Dusty, taped up, but still working. I don't remember putting it there. The battery light blinked green at recording. When I played it back later, I saw myself talking, eyes open, mouth moving. But I don't remember saying a single word. To whoever finds this tape, Route 191A isn't a road. It's a signal, a frequency, and once you tune into it, it knows where you are. My recorded voice paused, then looked straight into the lens. "You're already on it." The highway began changing again. Lines shifting, melting into the fog. The signs didn't read Oklahoma anymore. They said things like channel open and reception strong. The sky above flickered like a dying screen. It wasn't weather. It was signal interference. Then I realized the truth. The Project Horizon experiment never shut down. It just changed form. From machinery to media. From the highway to us. Every time someone talks about 191A online, every time a clip or story spreads, the signal travels further. It finds new listeners. New roads, tonight I saw them again. The old convoy. Rusty semis stretching for miles, headlights dim like dying eyes. They weren't chasing me this time. They were following. One of them pulled up beside me, an old Kenworth, the cab eaten by rust. Through the cracked window, I saw Hawkins himself. His mouth didn't move, but I heard his voice in my head. "You kept the signal alive. Now we can go home." Then his truck turned sharply, straight into the fog wall. Vanished. I slammed the brakes. The GPS recalculated, and for the first time since I'd entered this place, it said something new. Destination reached. There was a radio tower at the end of the road. Bent metal, wires dangling, blinking red light at the top. At its base, a recording station. Old equipment, a mic, and a reel-to-reel player still running. The label said Horizon 191A, active transmission. I sat down in front of the mic. And without realizing it, I started speaking. The same words you're hearing right now. This story, these sounds, they're not just for you. They're part of the signal. Every listen strengthens the connection. Every share builds the road. The reel clicked, rewound itself, and started replaying my own words, over and over. Each time the voice grew clearer, less like me, more like Hawkins. If you're watching this, hearing this, it's already too late. Route 191A doesn't need you to drive it. It just needs you to listen. And when the lights start flickering around you, when you hear static in the distance, don't try to turn it off. That's the road. Opening. The camera blinked its final light and powered down. Later, when they found my truck, miles away, empty, the CB radio was still broadcasting, looping the same sentence on an endless repeat. Route 191A remains open for all travelers seeking the truth. And now, this story, my voice, this very recording, is part of that broadcast. If you made it this far, you've already tuned in. Welcome to Route 191A. Keep driving. They uploaded my video 3 days ago. I didn't do it. Someone else must have found the camera in my truck. But when I checked YouTube, the channel name wasn't mine. It just said Route 191A Official. And the upload time? Scheduled for 3:03 a.m., the exact moment the highway opened last time. The thumbnail showed my truck parked on an empty road. Fog rolling over the asphalt, and in the rearview mirror, a faint silhouette. Someone is sitting behind me, but when I recorded it, I was alone. The title read, Terrifying True Scary Stories, Route 191A, Found Broadcast. It looked like one of your videos, formatted perfectly for a horror channel. The kind viewers click without thinking twice. I hit play, the comment section was exploding. Thousands of messages. This feels too real. Anyone else hearing static after watching? I swear my GPS glitched when he said 191A. Then one comment pinned itself automatically, from an account with no profile picture created the same day. If you hear it, drive west. Mile marker 191. A minute later, replies started appearing under it, not from normal users, but from accounts with identical names. Every reply said the same thing. En route. The next morning, creators started reporting their audio files were corrupting. Static overlays exactly 3 minutes and 3 seconds into their uploads. Even videos with no horror content. Some people said their car radios suddenly turned on while they were watching. Others said their Google Maps rerouted them to a blank stretch of highway outside their town. No listing, no label, just a gray line. And then, someone uploaded a reaction video. He was laughing at first, joking about it being fake. Halfway through, the lights behind him flickered. Static filled his mic. And before the video cut off, you could faintly hear it. The same GPS voice whispering, "Proceed to Route 191A." The channel vanished the next day. Deleted or absorbed. If you're watching this right now, your phone, your computer, your speaker, they're all part of the same network. And the signal travels through sound. Every replay, every like, every comment strengthens the transmission. That's how it spreads. Through attention. You don't have to believe me. But the more you listen, the clearer it becomes. They say Route 191A doesn't exist on any map, but check your GPS history after this video ends. There'll be one new entry, A gray road, no name. Coordinates blinking faintly in red. 35.7781 degree N, 97.3424 degree W. That's where the first truck disappeared. That's where I disappeared. And that's where you'll go, if you follow the signal. This was supposed to be a warning. But warnings only work if someone listens. And now you've listened. Which means the road has found you too. So if your screen flickers after this, or your speakers hiss for just a second, don't panic. That's just Route 191A saying hello. Keep driving. And remember, the road is always open. After midnight. Operator Hawkins, transmission complete. Trooper Daniel Reese, Oklahoma Highway Patrol. Responding to a 911 report of an abandoned vehicle near County Road 19. Caller says they heard an engine idling in the fog. No driver in sight. When I arrived, the fog was so thick it looked solid under the cruiser lights. Could barely see 20 feet ahead, and then I saw it. An old Peterbilt truck, mid-70s model. Headlights on, engine running. The cab door opens. Inside the cab was a video camera still recording. Battery at 3%. A thermos half full. Driver nowhere. The radio hummed faintly. I tapped the mic, and the static answered. Unit confirmed. Operator Hawkins active on... The passenger seat was a folder-stamped project. Horizon. Same seal I've only ever seen in old declassified files. Inside, topographic. Maps of a Route 191A. No such road on state records. Photographs. Of wrecked trucks from the 1950s typed. Pages labeled Horizon Gate Test. Protocol. The last page had a handwritten note. If you find this, don't record. Don't transmit. But I was already wearing my body cam. It had been rolling since I stepped out of the car. The CB radio burst to life again. Voices, overlapping, old, distorted, like recordings from decades apart, all playing at once. Cycle active. Coordinates aligned. We made it through the mile. It's not letting us leave. Then silence. And from the fog ahead, headlights, faint, unmoving, about 50 yards away, I called out, "This is Trooper Reese. Identify yourself." The lights flickered. Then one set became two. Then 10, all pointed straight at me. The asphalt beneath my boots started to ripple, like it was breathing. The fog turned white hot, humming, a high-pitched frequency that rattled my teeth, and from the sound came a voice. Deep, mechanical, familiar. "Welcome back, Operator Hawkins." That's when I realized the voice wasn't coming from the radio. It was coming from inside my head. My cruiser lights died. Dashcam went black, and for a second I saw something in the fog. Hundreds of trucks lined side by side, stretching into infinity. Each one filled with drivers staring forward, motionless. Their radios all glowed the same frequency, 191A. I'm uploading this audio directly from my patrol tablet. If anyone hears this, stay off County Road 19. There's something under the asphalt. Something alive. The road doesn't lead anywhere. It collects. And once you've heard its signal, it doesn't stop calling. I can hear the engines now. They're getting closer. The fog just turned blue. It's lighting up the whole sky. The same time as the last log, 03:03 a.m. Transmission complete. Operator Reese. Online. Route 191A remains open. New driver registered. The dashcam uploads automatically to the cloud. And a few hours later, a new video appears on YouTube, posted by a channel no one recognizes. Same title, same thumbnail, same voice. Terrifying, true, scary stories. Route 191A. And in the comments, the first reply simply says, "En route."